Rich millionaire, saved by humiliated black beggar at fancy restaurant with hidden secret. John Harding, self-made gazillionaire. You know the type. Built his empire one ruthless deal at a time. Was choking. Not on the overpriced Cabernet Sauvignon, but on a pain so sharp it felt like a shard of glass in his chest. The Gilded Spoon swanky restaurant that reeked more of pretense than truffle oil was fading to black around the edges. 5th anniversary. 5 years since Lily gone. Then a small grimy hand latched onto his arm like a desperate little anchor. He squinted down. A girl, maybe 5, black, face smeared with dirt like a tiny street urchin, yelling, "Help him! Somebody help!" The snooty security guards, more worried about the Spoon's 5-star image than a dying millionaire, tried to shoo her away. Disgust plain on their faces. "Get lost, kid. You don't belong here." But before they could manhandle her, she moved like a lightning bolt. Boom! Heimlich maneuver, right on the money. Turns out, surviving on the mean streets of Chicago teaches you things fancy prep schools never will. Later, hooked up to monitors in the sterile hospital room, John learned her name was also Lily. Lily, a tiny warrior with eyes that had seen way too much. And she had a baby brother, Oliver, who depended on her. Just like that, John's perfectly ordered world tilted on its axis. This wasn't some random act of kindness. This was fate? A cosmic joke? He offered them a home. A real home. Hot showers, clean clothes, food that wasn't scavenged from dumpsters. A stark, screaming contrast to their current existence. The reaction? Disbelief, mostly, and fear. But as John fumbled his way through becoming a guardian, the kid's raw energy ripped through the suffocating order of his life. And the prejudice? He saw it everywhere now, like a stain he'd been blind to before. It wasn't just a failing heart he was battling. It was a whole damn system designed to keep people like Lily down. Just when a flicker of hope started to glow in his chest, a woman showed up. Hard eyes, a forced smile, claiming to be a social worker. Carol, she said her name was. Too interested, asking too many questions about the kid's past, about John's intentions. Her gaze lingered on Lily, a knowing look that sent a shiver crawling down John's spine. "These kids have a complicated history, Mr. Harding," she said, her voice low, a warning he couldn't quite place. "Some people might not want them to be found." "Ei, antes de continuarmos com essa história incrível, preciso te fazer um alerta importante. Muitos inscritos têm relatado que o YouTube removeu suas inscrições sem aviso. Dá só uma conferida rápida no botão vermelho aí embaixo para garantir que você ainda está inscrito no canal. Não quero que você perca nenhum conteúdo exclusivo que vem por aí. E já que você está aí, deixa aquele like poderoso que me ajuda muito com o algoritmo. Ah, e me conta nos comentários de qual cidade você está assistindo. Adoro conhecer cada pessoa incrível que faz parte dessa comunidade. Sua participação. "These kids have a complicated history, Mr. Harding," she said, her voice low, a warning he couldn't quite place. "Some people might not want them to be found." He felt a cold sweat break out. What did she know? Carol kept coming around, always with a forced smile, always asking questions. Questions about Lily's past, Oliver's health, John's relationship with them. It was like she was building a case, piece by piece. He started sleeping less, watching the kids closer, triple-checking the locks on the doors. One rainy Tuesday, Lily came to him, face pinched with worry. "Mr. Harding," she whispered, "that lady, Carol, she showed me a picture of my mama." John's heart leaped into his throat. "What did she say, Lily? Tell me everything." Lily's voice trembled. She said my mama wanted us back, that you were keeping us away from her." He knelt down, took her small hands in his. "That's not true, Lily. Your mama, she can't come back. You know that." He hated lying, but he couldn't risk it. Not yet. That night, John couldn't sleep. He tossed and turned, Carol's words echoing in his head. He got up, walked down the hallway to Lily and Oliver's room. He pushed the door open just a crack, and that's when he saw her. Standing over Lily's bed, bathed in the pale moonlight filtering through the window, was Carol. But it wasn't Carol the social worker. It was Lily's mother. Older, harder, with a desperate glint in her eyes, but undeniably, unequivocally, Lily's mother. She held a small silver locket in her hand, the one Lily had described, the one she said her mother always wore. John stood frozen. He should yell, scream, call the police, but he couldn't move. He watched, paralyzed, as the woman leaned down and whispered something into Lily's ear. Then she turned. Her eyes met John's. A flicker of recognition, then a cold, hard stare. "You," she hissed, her voice barely audible. "You took my children." And then, the biggest shock of all. "You," John whispered, his voice cracking, recognition flooding him. "Lily? Lily Walker? Is that really you?" She nodded slowly. "You know me, John. Or at least, you used to. A long, long time ago. Before you became John Harding, gazillionaire. Before you forgot about us." He stumbled back, his hand flying to his chest. The pain, sharper than ever, ripped through him. Lily Walker. His Lily who died 5 years ago. Or so he thought. He looked back at the little girl sleeping soundly in her bed. Lily, not just some street urchin he rescued, his Lily's daughter. And Oliver. The world tilted. Nothing made sense anymore. He looked at the woman, really looked at her. The same eyes, the same stubborn chin, the same fire. His Lily, back from the dead? Or was he losing his mind? "Why?" he managed to croak out. "Why did you leave? Why didn't you tell me?" She stepped closer. Her eyes filled with a mixture of rage and desperation. "You wouldn't understand," she said. "You have no idea what I had to do to protect them. And now you're in the way." She reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a gun. "You," John whispered, his voice cracking, recognition flooding him. "Lily? Lily Walker? Is that really you?" She nodded slowly. "You know me, John. Or at least, you used to. A long, long time ago. Before you became John Harding, gazillionaire. Before you forgot about us." He stumbled back, his hand flying to his chest. The pain, sharper than ever, ripped through him. Lily Walker. His Lily who died 5 years ago. Or so he thought. He looked back at the little girl sleeping soundly. In her bed. Lily. Not just some street urchin he rescued. His Lily's daughter. And Oliver. The world tilted. Nothing made sense anymore. He looked at the woman, really looked at her. The same eyes, the same stubborn chin, the same fire. His Lily, back from the dead? Or was he losing his mind? Why? He managed to croak out. Why did you leave? Why didn't you tell me? She stepped closer, his eyes filled with a mixture of rage and desperation. You wouldn't understand, she said. You have no idea what I had to do to protect them. And now you're in the way. She reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a gun, pointed right at him. But she didn't fire. Not yet. She just stood there, a statue carved from pain and anger, the gun trembling in her hand. I loved you, John, she choked out, the words thick with unshed tears. More than anything. But you chose your world over me, over us. He shook his head, trying to clear the fog in his brain. What are you talking about? I searched for you, for years. You searched for Lily Walker, the girl from the wrong side of the tracks, she spat. But you didn't search for me, for the woman I had to become to survive. Suddenly a whimper. From Lily's bed, little Lily was awake. Her eyes, wide and terrified, darted between John and her mother, the gun glinting in the moonlight. Mama, she whispered, her voice barely audible. That's when it happened. The bedroom door crashed open. Standing there, silhouetted against the hallway light, was Oliver. But he wasn't alone. Two men, big, burly guys in dark suits, stood behind him. One of them held a gun, too. Pointed not at John, not at Lily's mother, but at Oliver. We found what you were hiding, Lily. One of the men said, his voice cold and flat. Looks like the kid's more valuable than we thought. Lily's mother gasped. She dropped the gun, scrambled towards Oliver. No, stay away from him. But it was too late. The man grabbed Oliver, yanked him forward. Oliver screamed, a high-pitched, terrified sound that ripped through the silence. Then the man spoke again, but this time his words weren't directed at Lily's mother. They were directed at John. You really thought you could play house, Harding, with our merchandise? John stared at the man, his mind reeling. What are you talking about? Merchandise, Oliver? The man smirked. You haven't figured it out yet, have you? Oliver isn't just some random kid off the street. He's worth more than your entire fortune. He's special. He paused, leaning in close to Oliver, whispering something in his ear. Oliver's eyes widened, his face contorted in pain. Then the man looked back at John, his eyes filled with a chilling glee. Let's just say, Mr. Harding, that Oliver has a talent, but talent that a lot of very powerful people are willing to pay a fortune for. And now that we have him back, well, let's just say your little charade is over. He raised the gun. But before he could pull the trigger, a voice, small but surprisingly strong, rang out. Stop! Little Lily shouted, standing up in her bed, her eyes blazing with an unnatural light. You can't hurt him! He's my brother! And then the air shimmered. A wave of energy, invisible but undeniably real, pulsed outwards from Lily. The men in suits stumbled back, clutching their heads, their faces contorted in agony. The lights flickered. The room grew cold. And for a brief, terrifying moment, John saw something in Lily's eyes that wasn't human. Something ancient. Something powerful. What the hell was going on? What were these kids? And what had he stumbled into? He glanced at Lily's mother. She was staring at her daughter, her face a mask of shock and fear. She knew. She knew exactly what Lily was capable of. And then she whispered, a single word that shattered everything John thought he knew. Run. Run. The word hung in the air, a desperate plea, a terrifying command. Run. From what? From whom? Then the world exploded. Not with another burst of Lily's strange power, but with something far more mundane. The fire alarm blared, deafening and sudden. Sprinklers sputtered to life, raining down cold water. Chaos erupted. The men in suits cursed. Momentarily disoriented, Lily's mother, my Lily, seized the opportunity. She shoved me hard, knocking me off balance. Get them out of here, John, now! Her eyes were wild, pleading. Before I could react, she grabbed Lily and Oliver, pulling them towards the shattered window. The alarm screamed, water poured, and then a blinding flash of light. A deafening boom shook the entire house. The lights went out completely. Darkness. Then a sickening smell filled the air. Burning metal, acrid smoke. The fire alarm shrieked on, a relentless, maddening sound. I stumbled to my feet, coughing, blinded. Lily, I yelled, my voice cracking. Lily, where are you? Silence, except for the alarm and the hiss of the sprinklers. I groped my way towards where I'd last seen them, my heart hammering against my ribs. The window, gone. A gaping hole in the wall, leading out into the stormy night. And then I saw it. A crumpled, bloodied business card lying on the floor. The kind those men in suits carried. I snatched it up, fumbling for my lighter. A flicker of flame illuminated the name, Omega Industries. Underneath, a phone number. And a single, chilling phrase, advancing human potential. Human potential? What the hell did that even mean? Suddenly, a wave of nausea hit me. A memory, buried deep, clawed its way to the surface. Something from years ago. A conversation. A whispered rumor. Omega Industries. They weren't just some corporation. They were experimenting. With people. With children. And then the horrifying realization hit me. Oliver. Oliver wasn't just a special kid. He was a product, a genetically engineered weapon. And Lily was his failsafe, his protector. My Lily. She knew. She'd known all along. That's why she'd run. That's why she'd kept them hidden. But then, why come back? Why risk everything? And then it hit me. The locket. The silver locket she'd been holding. The one she'd whispered about, too. Lily. It wasn't just a memento. It was a key. A key to something. Something Omega Industries desperately wanted. Something she was willing to die to protect. A siren wailed in the distance, growing closer. The police. I had to get out of here, now, before they arrived. But where to go? Who to trust? And then, a voice inside my head, Lily's voice, clear as a bell. Find Sarah. She knows everything. Sarah? Who the hell was Sarah? As I scrambled through the debris, searching for my phone. A picture frame caught my eye. It was an old photo, taken years ago. Me and Lily, laughing, young, carefree. And standing behind us, just barely visible in the background, a woman. A woman with kind eyes, a warm smile, and a familiar face. Sarah. My heart leaped into my throat. Sarah, my Lily's sister. The sister I thought had died years ago. But how could she be involved in all this? I had to find her. She was my only hope. But as I reached for the photo, a sudden, sharp pain pierced my chest. The shard of glass again, sharper than ever before. I gasped, clutching my chest, collapsing to the floor. And then, everything went black. But before I lost consciousness completely, I heard a faint whisper carried on the wind. You can't save them, John. It's already too late. You can't save them, John. It's already too late. Darkness. Then, a searing pain. My chest was on fire. I gasped, trying to pull air into my lungs, but it felt like I was breathing through a straw. Images flashed through my mind. Lily's face, Oliver's terrified eyes, Lily Walker, the woman I thought I knew. Then, nothing. I woke up in a hospital bed, beeping machines. The sterile smell of antiseptic, a throbbing headache. A nurse bustled in, a look of relief on her face. You're awake. Thank goodness. You gave us quite a scare. Lily, I croaked. The kids, where are they? Her face clouded over. Mr. Harding, you need to rest. The police are here. They want to ask you some questions. The police? A moment later, 2 detectives stood at the foot of my bed. Stern faces, grim expressions. Mr. Harding, one of them said, we need to know what happened at your house last night. I told them everything I could remember, stumbling over the details, trying to make sense of the chaos. Omega Industries, Lily Walker, the men in suits, Oliver's talent. They listened, their faces impassive. When I was finished, one of them sighed. Mr. Harding, this is a very complicated situation. We've recovered some evidence at your home, including what appears to be a sophisticated lab hidden in the basement. A lab? I didn't know anything about a lab. We also found traces of a highly experimental compound, the other detective added. A compound known to enhance certain abilities. We believe these children were being subjected to some kind of genetic experimentation. My head was spinning. It was all too much. But Lily Walker, she's their mother. She was trying to protect them. The detectives exchanged a look. Mr. Harding, one of them said, his voice low, Lily Walker has been dead for 5 years. We have a death certificate. We have witnesses. She died in a car accident. I stared at them, dumbfounded. That's not possible. I saw her. I spoke to her. She had Lily's locket. Mr. Harding, the detective sighed again. You were under a lot of stress. You were grieving. It's possible you were mistaken. But I wasn't mistaken. I knew what I saw. There's something else, Mr. Harding, the other detective said, stepping closer. We ran your blood work. It turns out you're not as healthy as you thought you were. You have a rare genetic disorder, a disorder that requires a very specific treatment. He paused, letting the words sink in. A treatment that, incidentally, was being developed in that lab in your basement. I stared at him, my heart pounding in my chest. What are you saying? He leaned in closer, his voice barely audible. Mr. Harding, you're not John Harding. John Harding died 5 years ago, along with Lily Walker. You are an imposter. You took his identity. You stole his life. The world tilted again. This couldn't be happening. It just couldn't. We believe, the detective continued, that you were involved in a secret research project. A project designed to clone John Harding, to bring him back from the dead, and it appears that you succeeded. Clone? I was a clone? But there's a problem, the detective said, his eyes boring into mine. The cloning process wasn't perfect. You have certain deficiencies. Deficiencies that require a constant supply of that experimental compound. The compound that Oliver was producing. Oliver? Producing? Oliver, the detective said, a cruel smile spreading across his face, is a genetic anomaly. He's the key to your survival. And Lily is his guardian, his protector. She was programmed to keep him safe, no matter what. Programmed? Lily Walker, the detective continued, you knew all of this. That's why she came back. Not to protect her children, but to protect her investment. You. A wave of nausea washed over me. It was all a lie. Everything I thought I knew was a lie. Lily Walker hadn't come back to save her children. She'd come back to save me, to save her experiment. And then the biggest shock of all. And by the way, Mr. Harding, the detective added, Lily Walker didn't die in a car accident. She was murdered. And we think you know who did it. He paused, letting the words hang in the air. Because, Mr. Harding, or whoever you really are, we found your fingerprints on the murder weapon. Because, Mr. Harding, or whoever you really are, we found your fingerprints on the murder weapon. The room swam. Murder weapon? I didn't. I couldn't. My head throbbed, a vicious drumbeat against my skull. That's impossible, I gasped. But even to my own ears, the denial sounded weak, pathetic. The detective just raised an eyebrow. A silent, damning accusation. We also found something else, Mr. Harding. Something interesting. In your bank account. He paused, pulled out a file. A photograph. My breath hitched. It was a picture of me. Not recently. Years ago. Younger. Standing next to a woman. A woman I barely recognized. Lily Walker. But not the Lily I remembered. This Lily was different. Harder. More dangerous. Do you recognize this woman, Mr. Harding? He asked, his voice dangerously soft. I shook my head, a lie that felt like a lead weight on my tongue. Never seen her before. He smiled, a slow, cruel smile. That's funny, Mr. Harding, because according to our records, that woman is your wife. My wife? But Lily was dead. I saw her die. Or did I? The memories, the images, they were all blurring, twisting, morphing into a grotesque caricature of the life I thought I knew. Her name is, or rather was, Sarah Walker, the detective continued, the words hitting me like physical blows. Lily's sister, the one you said died years ago. Turns out she's been living under an assumed identity, working for Omega Industries. Sarah? Lily's sister? Working for Omega? It was all connected. A web of lies, deceit, and betrayal, spun so intricately that I couldn't tell up from down, truth from fiction. "We believe," the detective said, leaning in even closer, his breath hot on my face, "that Sarah Walker was the one who hired you to kill her sister." The world stopped. No, it couldn't be. But then, memory. A flash of a woman's face, distorted by grief, by rage. A whispered promise. "I'll make him pay. I swear I'll make him pay for what he did to her." Sarah? Had Sarah manipulated me all along? Had she used my whatever I was to avenge her sister's death? And then, a new voice, coming from the doorway. A voice I knew. A voice that sent a shiver of dread down my spine. "He's telling the truth." I looked up, my eyes widening in disbelief. Standing in the doorway, flanked by two more men in dark suits, was Lily Walker, my Lily. The woman I thought had died 5 years ago. The woman who was supposed to be dead. But it wasn't just Lily, it was Sarah. The same face, the same eyes, but somehow different. Harder, colder. "I'm Sarah Walker," she said, her voice flat, emotionless. "And everything he told you, it's true. I hired him. I manipulated him. I used him to get what I wanted." The detectives looked stunned, confused. "But why?" one of them stammered. "Why would you do this? To your own sister?" Sarah or Lily, or whoever she really was, just smiled, a chilling, terrifying smile. "Because," she said, her eyes locking onto mine, "sometimes the only way to save the world is to burn it all down." And then she raised her hand, and the world went black again. And then she raised her hand, and the world went black again. I woke up strapped to a metal table, cold, so cold. My head was pounding, and I couldn't move. Panic flared. Where was I? Then I saw her, Sarah, standing over me, her face illuminated by the harsh fluorescent lights. She was wearing a lab coat, and her eyes, they were dead, empty. "Welcome back," she said, her voice devoid of any emotion. "It's time you learned the truth." What is this?" I croaked, my voice raspy. She smiled. A slow, predatory smile. "This is where the magic happens, John. Where we unlock human potential." She gestured to the room around me. It was filled with gleaming machines, wires, tubes, and monitors, all of it humming with a sinister energy. Omega Industries isn't just about making money, John. It's about pushing the boundaries of what's possible, about creating a better future. "A better future?" I spat. "By kidnapping children and experimenting on them?" Her smile tightened. "Collateral damage, a small price to pay for progress." She stepped closer, her eyes boring into mine. "You see, John, you were never meant to be just a clone. You were meant to be something more, something perfect." She picked up a syringe filled with a glowing green liquid. My stomach churned. "What is that?" "The final piece of the puzzle," she said, her voice almost a whisper. "It will unlock your full potential. It will make you immortal." She plunged the syringe into my arm. Pain, unimaginable pain. My body convulsed, every muscle screaming in agony. I could feel my cells burning, reforming, rewriting themselves. Then the pain subsided, replaced by a feeling of power, raw, untamed power coursing through my veins. I looked down at my hands. They were shaking, but not with fear, with anticipation. "What have you done to me?" I gasped. She smiled. "I've made you everything you were always meant to be." Suddenly, the door to the lab burst open. Lily, little Lily, standing there, her eyes blazing with that unnatural light. But she wasn't alone. Oliver was beside her, his face pale but determined. "Let him go, Sarah," Lily said, her voice strong, unwavering. Sarah laughed, a harsh, grating sound. "You can't stop me, Lily. You don't understand what's at stake." Lily took a step forward. "I understand that you're hurting people, that you're using them, and that's wrong." Sarah's eyes narrowed. "You always were too sentimental, just like your mother." And then the most shocking thing happened. Lily raised her hand and pointed it at Oliver. "I'm sorry, Oliver," she said, her voice choked with tears. "But this is the only way." A wave of energy erupted from Lily, engulfing Oliver. He screamed, a high-pitched, agonizing sound that echoed through the lab. Then, silence. Oliver collapsed to the floor, his body limp, lifeless. I stared at Lily, my mind reeling. What did you do?" She turned to me, her eyes filled with a sorrow so deep, it made my heart ache. "I had to, John. He was too dangerous. For you. For everyone." "Dangerous?" I stammered. "He was a child." "He was a weapon," she said, her voice flat. "A weapon that Sarah was planning to use to control the world. I couldn't let that happen." Sarah was screaming now, a primal, animalistic sound. You killed him! You killed my only hope!" She lunged at Lily, her eyes filled with murderous rage. But before she could reach her, I moved, faster than I'd ever moved before. I grabbed Sarah, spun her around, and threw her against the wall. She hit the ground with a sickening thud. Unconscious, I looked down at my hands. They were trembling. I had just used my newfound power to hurt someone. What was happening to me? Lily was staring at me, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and awe. You're different," she whispered. "What did she do to you?" I didn't know, but I knew one thing. I had to get out of here. I had to find out the truth about myself, about Omega Industries, about everything. I grabbed Lily's hand. "Come on," I said. "We're leaving." But as we turned to go, a voice stopped us in our tracks. "Going somewhere, John?" Standing in the doorway, blocking our escape, was a figure cloaked in shadow. A figure I recognized. It was Lily Walker, the real Lily Walker, the one who had supposedly died 5 years ago. But she wasn't alone. Standing beside her, holding her hand, was Oliver, alive and smiling. "Surprised?" Lily said, her voice dripping with malice. "Didn't think you'd see us again, did you?" She stepped into the light, revealing her true face. It wasn't Lily Walker. It was me, another clone. "We have big plans for you, John," she said, her eyes gleaming with a sinister light. "And they all start with you joining us." "Surprised?" Lily said, her voice dripping with malice. Didn't think you'd see us again, did you? She stepped into the light, revealing her true face. It wasn't Lily Walker. It was me, another clone. "We have big plans for you, John," she said, her eyes gleaming with a sinister light. "And they all start with you joining us." My head was spinning. Clones everywhere. Betrayal upon betrayal. What was real anymore? Was anything real? But then I looked at Oliver. He was smiling, yes, but his eyes, they were empty, hollow, like a puppet on strings. Something snapped inside. Me. This wasn't right. None of this was right. "Get away from him," I growled, my voice low and dangerous. Clone Lily laughed. "You think you can stop us, John? You have no idea what you're up against." She raised her hand, and then nothing. She just stood there. Her smile faltered. Her eyes widened. What's happening?" she stammered, clutching her head. Then she collapsed, just like Oliver had. Dead. I stared at her, then at Oliver, then back at the real Lily. She was as stunned as I was. What did you do?" I whispered, my voice trembling. Lily shook her head, her eyes wide with fear. "I didn't do anything, I swear." But then I felt it, a sharp pain in my chest. The one I thought I'd escaped. The shard of glass, only this time it was burning. I stumbled, clutching my chest. I looked down at my hands. They were glowing, a faint, ethereal light. And then I knew. It wasn't Lily. It was me. I was doing this. Somehow, I was shutting them down, deactivating them. But how? Then, a voice inside my head. A voice I hadn't heard before. A woman's voice. "You have the power, John. You always have. You just need to embrace it." I looked at Lily. She was staring at me, her face a mask of terror. "What's happening to you, John? What are you doing?" I didn't know, but I couldn't stop. The pain was unbearable, but I had to keep going. I had to stop them. I focused all my energy, all my will, on Oliver, on shutting him down, on ending this nightmare. And then I saw it, in his eyes, a flicker of humanity, a spark of recognition. And then he spoke, not in the robotic, empty voice he'd been using, but in a small, frightened whisper. "Help me," he said. And just like that, everything changed. He wasn't a weapon. He wasn't a clone. He was a little boy, trapped. And I knew with a certainty that burned through me that I couldn't kill him. But what could I do? How could I save him? Then the pain intensified, almost unbearable. I was losing control. Lily screamed, and then the lights went out. The lights went out. Darkness, complete, utter darkness. Then a new sound, a low hum, growing louder, closer. I gasped, trying to see through the blackness. What was going on? Then, a light, a single beam, cutting through the darkness. It was coming from Oliver. He was standing, no longer limp and lifeless, but erect, his eyes glowing with an eerie green light. "It's time," he said, his voice no longer a child's whisper, but a deep, resonant baritone. "It's time for the next phase." Lily screamed again. But this time, it was different. It was a scream of understanding, I stumbled back, confusion warring with terror. What was happening? Then the truth hit me. Like a punch to the gut, Oliver wasn't a victim. He wasn't a weapon. He was the key. He was the source. He was the one in control, all along. The clones, the experiments, Omega Industries, it was all a game, a stage, set up by Oliver, for some unknown purpose, and we were all just puppets. You don't understand, Lily said, her voice trembling. He's not who you think he is. Oh, I think I do, I said, my voice cold. He's not a boy, is he? He's something else entirely. Oliver smiled, a knowing, ancient smile. Very good, John. You're catching on. Slowly, but surely. But what are you? I stammered. He tilted his head, considering. Let's just say I'm an upgrade, a necessary evolution. Humanity has reached its limit. It's time for something new. He raised his hand, and the room began to shake. The machines hummed louder, the lights flickered, and the air crackled with energy. Then the walls began to dissolve. Not literally, but they were fading, becoming transparent, revealing something else. A world beyond the lab. A world of shimmering light, of impossible colors, of geometric shapes that defied explanation. This, Oliver said, his voice filled with a messianic fervor, is the future. This is what awaits those who are willing to transcend. He turned to Lily. Join me, Lily. We can rule this world together. We can create a paradise. Lily hesitated. Her eyes darted between Oliver and me. I could see the conflict raging within her, the loyalty to her brother, the fear of the unknown. I don't know, she stammered. It's your choice, Oliver said, his voice gentle but firm. But choose wisely. Time is running out. He turned to me. And you, John, what will you do? Will you embrace the future? Or will you cling to the past? Will you become something more? Or will you remain just a copy? He held out his hand, and then a gunshot, a deafening roar that shattered the silence. Oliver staggered back, clutching his chest. His eyes widened in disbelief. Then he collapsed, dead. Standing in the doorway, a smoking gun in her hand, was Sarah. But her face, it was different. Gone was the cold, calculating scientist. In her place was grief. Raw, unadulterated grief. I couldn't let him do it, she sobbed, her voice breaking. He was going to destroy everything. She looked at Lily, her eyes filled with remorse. I'm so sorry, Lily. I should have told you everything, but I was afraid. He had control over me, over all of us. She took a step closer, her eyes pleading. Please, believe me. I did what I had to do. Lily stared at her, her face a mask of shock and confusion. And then, a siren, in the distance, growing closer. Sarah looked at me, her eyes filled with desperation. You have to go, now, before they get here. Take Lily, protect her. She's the only one who can stop them. Stop who? Before I could ask, she shoved a small silver locket into my hand. The same locket Lily's mother had been holding. The key. What is this? I asked. It's the truth, she whispered. Everything you need to know is inside. Then she turned and ran, disappearing into the shadows. I looked down at the locket, then at Lily, then back at the dissolving walls. The world was changing, fracturing, falling apart, and I had no idea what to do. But I knew one thing. I had to protect Lily, because whatever was coming, it was far from over. It was only just beginning, and as I looked at the locket, I knew somehow that the answers lay within. But unlocking them would come at a terrible price. Okay, here we go. I looked at the locket. Lily was staring at me, scared. Sirens wailed closer. We had to move. Fast. I pried them. Locket open. Inside, a tiny photo. Not of Lily's mom. Of me, younger, next to a woman. A woman with cold eyes, Sarah. But behind her, barely visible, a symbol. Twisted, sinister. I knew that symbol. Omega. It wasn't just a company. It was a cult. A cult that worshipped power. Lily grabbed my arm. We have to go. Now. We ran. Out of the lab into the night. The rain was coming down hard. We didn't know where we were going. Just away. Away from the clones, the experiments, the madness. We found an old car, abandoned. I hot-wired it. Lily watching, her eyes wide. "How did you know how to do that?" she asked. I don't know," I said. But I did. John Harding did. And I was him, wasn't I? Or a part of him. We drove, miles, until we reached a small town. Quiet, peaceful, a place to hide. We found a motel. Cheap, dingy, but safe for now. Inside, I showed Lily the photo, the symbol. "Do you know what this is?" She shook her head. "No. What does it mean?" "It means we're not safe," I said. "They're still out there, and they're coming for us." Lily's eyes filled with tears. "What are we going to do?" I looked at her. This little girl, who had seen so much, who had lost so much. "We're going to fight," I said. "We're going to stop them, once and for all." But how? I didn't know. I was just a clone, a copy, a mistake. But maybe I was more than that. Maybe I could be something better. I looked out the window. The rain was still falling. But through the clouds, a sliver of moon. Hope. For now. But I knew, deep down, this was just the beginning. The real fight, it was still to come. And the answers, they were still hidden, waiting to be found. What did the symbol mean? Who was really pulling the strings? And what was Lily's role in all of this? I didn't know, but I had a feeling, a terrible feeling, that the worst was yet to come. And trust me, folks, this is not the end. It is just the beginning. Okay, now listen up. You absolutely must subscribe right now. Don't even think about waiting. Click that subscribe button right now. You cannot miss what comes next. We need you here for the continuation. Smash that like button. Go on, what are you waiting for? Every like fuels the algorithm and lets us bring you more incredible content. This is the moment to show your support. And don't even get me started on the comments. Flood that section with your thoughts, your theories, your reactions. What did you think of the ending? What happens next? We need to know. Sound off right now. And finally, Share this video right now. Find at least 5 friends who need to experience this roller coaster. Don't let them miss out. Share it. Share it. Share it. Only true fans understand the importance of these actions. We're counting on you. Don't let us down.